BondCharge is a holistic wellness brand with a huge range of evidence-based products to optimize your life in every way. Founded on science and inspired by nature, all BondCharge products adopt ancestral ways of living in our modern-day world. Their extensive range of premium wellness products help you sleep better, perform better, have more energy, recover faster, reduce inflammation. The list is endless. Our favorite product from BondCharge is their infrared sauna blanket. If you're looking to ease stress and unwind, the sauna blanket can do just that. The infrared heat and your elevated heart rate, all while relaxing, releases endorphins, which can leave you feeling euphoric after your session. It takes less than a minute to set up, heats up quickly, and you'll feel revitalized and less stress after sessions. And they offer free shipping on every sauna blanket, no hidden costs. Go to bondcharge.com and use coupon code SALLY to save 15%. That's BONCHARGE.com and use coupon code SALLY to save 15%. Sally and I have always been focused on optimizing our health through exercise, nutrition, and sleep. But over the past year, we started thinking even more about something that's harder to control: toxin exposure. PFAS, or forever chemicals, these are everywhere: non-stick cookware, food packaging, and contaminated water. And they don't break down in the body. Research links them to endocrine disruption, metabolic disorders, and even cancer. That's why we've been testing our exposure through Function, an all-in-one health platform with 100+ advanced lab tests. Now, they've added a PFAS exposure test, which is critical since 97% of Americans have these chemicals in their blood. Testing gives you the knowledge to take action. Function makes it simple, with 2,000+ lab locations and a membership at just $499 a year. And unlike other companies, Function doesn't push supplements or pharmaceuticals, just real, unbiased health data. You are your best health advocate. Get ahead of your health with Function. Learn more and sign up at www.functionhealth.com/Sally McRae. That's functionhealth.com/Sally McRae.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Choose Strong podcast. Thanks so much for being here with us today. Today we're going to be talking about how to handle life's unexpected situations, transitions. And so what better way to do that than to talk about the first year that Eddie and I became parents. The first year that we had Makenzie. A big change, Ed?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Understatement.
Well, a little, she was little, but a big change in our world.
Massive, yeah.
Yeah.
And most of it were things that we didn't see coming, that we didn't plan for. It was our first time navigating aside from being parents, just everything. So I love this story. And regardless, if you are about to become parents, or let's say that is something in the near future, or you are young parents, I think that this episode is also great just for people that are navigating life transitions, unexpected events. There's a lot of just really cool little elements that hopefully will encourage you. But I'm going to throw it back over to Ed real quick with reviews.
Sure. You want to just go right into it? And start with that. I was going to ask you a question. How you doing? I was just checking in. And
well, let's check in.
What's new? How's it going?
Yeah.
I mean, I know, but like, what's the latest with you? What's the latest?
What's
in
the
Sally's
latest
world?
is my friend Shelby got me this yellow beanie and mailed it to me. Wrote me a super sweet card. And I'll just, on that same note, I've gotten some cool gifts this past week from people in the community. When I went to Arkansas, I got some soaps.
Mm-hmm.
Someone brought me some soaps. Someone else brought me some macaroons. This guy who's starting a business called Be-Well or Benwell or something like that. I'm saying it wrong and I feel terrible, but he brought me and Mac sweatshirts.
Nice.
So that was really cool. So it's been a week of gifts.
Nice.
And feeling extra special. So shout out to everyone that has sent a card or a gift lately. I thank you.
Your son got you flowers too.
My son got me flowers. I mean, my birthday is this month, and I just feel like every single day I'm being celebrated.
When did it become birthday month? Is that a thing?
I think maybe in 2020 when we just needed things to hold on to make us happy. We elongated people had their Christmas trees up the entire year.
Yeah, that's true.
Christmas lights. It was, every day was a day of baking.
Mm-hmm. There were some good days.
There's some good days.
That year, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, Sal. Well, let's move on then. If that was all you got for us,
I mean,
just
what do you have for us?
A month of gifts for you.
Because I haven't asked you lately how your training's doing. And big shout out to everyone that has just started your run.
Yeah.
I hope that whatever it is that you're training in right now, whether you're outside on the treadmill, I know we have people watching us on the treadmill, so I'm just waving at you. To all the kids that are present, usually we got the kids for like the first few minutes, Ed. So we're giving a shout out to all the kids going to practice, going to school, or just watching us on YouTube right now. We love you. We're cheering for you. But yeah, for those of you that are training, I know that we're just really in the thick of race season. And so the other day I was sitting next to you and I saw that you had 500 kudos for like your 2-mile run on the treadmill or something like that. And I was like, wow.
It was 3 miles.
Okay, 3 miles. And I was like, wow, you're just like Strava superstar right now.
I don't know what that is. And
so I want to know about your goals. Like, what are you training for? What are you doing?
Well, I think I've explained this already, but my goal is to keep up with my daughter. And that is the sole focus right now. So I am trying to log some miles,
right?
Albeit slow, but logging miles in order to eventually, hopefully in June, July-ish, run 4 miles a couple times with Makenzie when she's home.
Oh,
that's the goal. That is the goal.
So
that's my why.
You can warm up with her?
Yeah, pretty much. No, her recovery pace, like we talked about, is like 7:45-ish.
Yeah.
So that's my goal.
Sometimes it is. She was telling me this workout she was doing the other day where the ons were like 450.
No, I know.
And
but
then her offs were like 6:15.
No, I know that. I'm talking about like when she is
7,000 feet.
No, I know. When she's at sea level and she's able to just cruise.
Yeah.
After like a hard workout, if she's going to be doing 3-4 miles, yeah, Dad's going to be running with her.
I love that.
That's the goal. So that's what I'm doing.
Strength, mobility?
I'm doing strength, 0 mobility, but I know I need to work on mobility.
Once the challenge was over, you were done.
Yeah, so I actually do need to do some mobility stuff, but I've been doing good on my strength stuff, and now getting back on the treadmill and running. So.
Is that your favorite machine in the gym, the treadmill? If you had to choose one cardio machine?
No. I like the stairs.
The Stair-mill?
Yep.
Which is different from a stair stepper.
Yes. The Stair-mill, yeah. That's my favorite.
You don't see the stair stepper as much anymore.
No,
it's just
don't.
Like...
Yeah, why is that?
It's shifty. Probably because it's just not as good as a workout.
So.
I mean, do you remember when it first came out? It was all the craze.
Yeah.
It was like, that was the machine, was the stair stepper. Yeah. Okay, fun fact. For our listeners, I used to teach. I have multiple certifications in fitness. This is something I don't talk about a lot. Like, I can teach yoga. I can teach Pilates, spin, which I never.
I did not know that,
actually. Spin. It has been so long since I've had these. There's no way I could just walk into a room.
I was going to say, could you walk in and say, all right, everybody, get on your bike?
Pilates, yes. I think I could do Pilates. Yeah. But yoga, spin, no.
That would be so
all.
funny, actually, if you just tried to wing it. Like, all right, let's get on the bikes. Let's lock in. And
I just use all the wrong terminology and don't even know how to size my bike out.
I would love to be
I'm
in that
dying after 5 minutes because I don't even know. I have resistance
the trainer
at the
can't
max.
Even hang.
Everyone in the class is starting to side-eye me. Like, wait a minute.
Who is this new teacher?
Yeah, I definitely do not. I don't have any business being in that now. But where was I going with this? I was telling you about.
You were saying that you have a bunch of certifications.
These different certifications for.
The stair stepper.
Oh yeah, the stair stepper. So there was this class. This is like the year before I got signed. So it was 2000. This is in 2013, may even be 2012. And at this time, a lot of boutique type fitness workouts were going crazy. So one of them was adventure boot camp or outdoor fitness boot camps, which that's what I did. So I had an outdoor fitness business for women. I did that for years. Loved it. It was very popular, especially here in Southern California, because you can train outside year round for the most part. And rain is so mild that it's we'll just get under a covered area. And a lot of those camps were run either at parks or at high schools. So I ran mine at a park. Actually, shout out to Villa Park High School. That's where I ran one of them. But because of that, like all these like other like boutique type workouts, they were like fad workouts were popping up. And one of them, which I loved, and I can't even remember the name. Oh, it was called Rise Fitness.
Okay.
Rise Fitness, and it was on stair steppers, but they were a little bit more advanced. Like I think the steps were like it was more like some of them you don't even shift that much. So some of those stair steppers, but they were good like big steps. It wasn't a Stair-mill. It was just a stair stepper, and this guy started this business. He's like, this is going to be like the next big thing. Got this amazing space, totally decked it out. I mean, I'm pretty sure the lights were always in sync with the music, and it was just the best sound system. You know, his dark lights, kind of like the same vibe as like a spin class. You know, it's a little bit darker in there. They turned down the lights, but then like he had like all of like the colored lights going, and then we also had this massive screen that was like behind the instructor. So it was very visually engaging, stimulating. And I would wear the microphone and I would teach these classes on the stair stepper. I probably only did it for like a few months. And I even though it was like fun, I just remember thinking like, I can't do this like forever and ever. Cause I was like really trying to build up my trail running resume, and I was trying to get signed, you know, and that was like such a random thing, but it was a great workout. I loved it. And we incorporated other things into it. So like we had like small dumbbells and resistance bands, and you would like hop off and do some of that stuff like after we were done at the Stair-mill like part, and then we would get them on the floor and do like some core routine stuff too. But super fun vibe. But I think back on that and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like a whole other life ago. Because we were like living in Aliso Viejo at the time.
I do not. I just learned that. I didn't know that you did that, actually.
This doesn't surprise me at all. Also because I was doing so many things.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, I feel like I remember going and teaching like strength one-on-one with strength and like really specific run workouts with like high school and college kids. I remember going to
that.
Club soccer. Like I'd show up at club soccer teams and put them through workouts. Like I was really trying to find just all these different ways to make a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Because that was also like 2012, 13, because I was really trying to pursue a trail running career. I remember budget was tight, like money was tight. Like I left like a salaried, like consistent paycheck to do that. And maybe that kind of plays into our story that we're about to tell today. But we've had a lot of seasons where trying to figure things out, you know, and here in Southern California, you almost have to have like for a family, like a double income coming in. It's so expensive.
Yeah.
And then when the kids want to do sports and they need braces and someone breaks an arm, it's like, oh my gosh, you have all these unexpected expenses. And I think you and I both were paying off a little bit of college loan, and
I mean, at
so
that
much
time,
going on.
I was working at a church, so I wasn't actually killing it in the bank account.
Yeah, and I was also doing online coaching.
Yeah.
It was
that's weird. I didn't realize that you did
I didn't do it for like I said, it was only like a couple months, and I don't even think the business lasted that long. I think it maybe only lasted like a year, and he had like he had a lot of different trainers that would cycle through. So,
I do remember having like a little white stair stepper thing that was right. I do remember that.
Yeah, it's just the steps.
Yeah,
like it's probably
small.
only like 18 inches tall. Maybe not even that tall. But yeah, the idea
it was like hydraulics, right?
Yes.
Like,
and the way they advertise that too is you could like watch TV and be on it.
Yeah.
You kind of just like balance on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I mean, it works on balance. It works on.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it was a super workout.
No, I probably got it at TJ Maxx or Marshall's, where at this time, like that's where I got so much of my fitness equipment. Even when I was running my business, I would like
you
go to Home Goods and sometimes you can find really good dumbbells or like kettlebells there.
Oh yeah, they have a lot of kettlebells.
Yeah, I mean, it's where I got all my clothes, and I would just like peruse the clearance racks. I mean, we did what we could.
Yep.
I was just trying to piece together like this business in the without having money, we didn't have any money to invest in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, I'd make a little money and then I'd like go buy a few pieces of equipment. I'd make a little bit of money and I'd like buy some new running. I mean, I remember I used to just have 1 or 2 pair of running shoes for the entire year.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually got them on like a clearance rack or something like that. But, which no complaints. I mean, it was like, I was raised that way too, but we made it work. It was hard. But we made it work. But that's so funny that you're just now learning that I did that.
Literally had no idea. But I did it. I mean, I'm not surprised, but...
Or you're just forgetting.
No, I literally did not know
Or just
that.
because I've had like literally like
3,000 jobs, but
42 jobs.
I honestly don't remember you ever doing that though. Like I cannot, yeah.
But there's stuff I do right now that people don't know that I just don't talk about, that I work. That I just love to do. Like, I think job opportunities, well, I should say it's contract opportunities. It's hard for me to turn stuff down when it's stuff that I'm genuinely curious about, stuff that I like really love.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'll show up and go do that.
Yep.
Like, yeah, I have experience doing that. And there's even been times where people have asked me to fulfill some type of position, a contract job. They're like, I know you don't have experience, but I think you'd be good. Like, okay, let's go for it.
Yep.
Life's too short. Yeah, maybe take on a little bit too much. So maybe that was just in the mix.
I think the only thing that if someone was like, hey, could you pull this off? The only thing that you would be able to be like, I don't think I could do it, would have something to do with like hand-eye coordination. I think you could do everything else.
To throw that in there so
bad.
bad.
I think you could do everything else. But as soon as a job had something to do with hand-eye, you'd be like,
Dude, someone on our BPN team, we had the BPN Bear Performance Nutrition athlete team is pretty big. There's like 25 of us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're on this huge text exchange. And it's awesome because we cheer for each other. We like to help each other out. You know, if there's opportunities, we throw them out there like, hey, anyone want to do this? And one of my teammates was like, dude, I do this like celebrity softball game. Any you guys want to join? And I literally respond, like I started giggling thinking about me, like it sounds so fun. I want to go do a celebrity softball game. But I was like, I literally throw like a blind kid with vertigo. Like like that ball ain't getting to you. There's just like, no.
You could be a pinch runner.
You know I could, yeah. Where, the guy actually bats, he hits it, he gets to first base, but then, or actually, does the runner start only at first base, or can he go right after he bats?
What do you mean?
Like
he lines up at the plate and he hits it and the other guy
and
runs?
He's over there, yeah. You have to start at first base, right?
Yeah.
And you run the rest of the bases.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's
like
how
a guy
it worked.
standing next to him hitting, and you like as soon as you hear it hit, you run.
he actually gets
stays.
He gets hit in the head with the bat.
Yeah, so that's a good option for you, pinch runner. That would work. You would just
bench runner.
No, pinch runner.
Pinch runner.
Pinch.
I was like, wow. That's really degrading just right out of the gate.
What about your, like, I know catching isn't your thing and throwing. Okay, let's just get that out of the way.
Hey, for the record, listeners, whenever Eddie and I go to Dave & Buster's, which is like a grown-ups arcade hangout restaurant place, I always beat him in basketball. So this is why he's doing this is where this is coming from.
That's not always.
He's so bitter that the wife who does not know how to throw or catch can just drain them too in the basketball game. I'm so good. I think I just find the spot and I just stay there.
Yeah, I felt okay. So yesterday,
like
I think I showed you on Instagram, but there was the par 3 contest at the Masters, and the wife of one of, I can't remember the guy's name. He's not like
just put it up. We'll send the reel to Dylan to put up.
Yeah, so he had his wife hit the shot first, and she has this amazing, I don't know, she probably has a golfing background based on her swing.
Yeah.
But she just knocked it pretty close to the pin, and then he got up there as the pro golfer and didn't even do as well. I was like, man, I feel you.
She had the better shot.
She did, yeah.
Yeah.
She did.
Did you feel that like in your heart where you're like, I know that feeling?
I was like a little bit like,
It was like
Dave
when
and
we went
Buster's.
golfing in Flagstaff and I got the first strike and you were like,
Bowling?
yeah.
Oh,
We
yeah.
went bowling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
true.
And
But
you're
then
like,
I was like,
but then you crushed me.
that's not going to happen again. So anyways, a pinch runner would be, I think my point was you throwing, catching, not in the cards for you. Okay.
Right. And what contract work, whatever.
Hold on.
Need me to do any of that?
I don't know. You never know. But what about like if they were like, hey, I just need you to hit. Like, could you
punch someone?
No. Like on the softball team. Like you can't play in the outfield.
Yeah,
I
just need you to hit.
Yeah, can you like, hey Sally, we need you to like just hit the ball.
Yeah, if you guys are gambling to lose, like I'm your girl.
Okay, no, my question is, what is a bigger strength, hitting the ball or throwing?
For me?
Yeah, I think I know the answer, but I'm just
I think probably throwing.
Really? No way. You cannot throw better than you can hit. There's no way. I don't know.
Hey, Sally, toss me the keys. Actually, please don't toss me the keys.
Do not. Wow.
We might never see him again. I blame it on...
What? What do we blame it on?
I do. I blame it on walking too early. I walked at 8 months old. Listen, no. Crawling...
I'm going to Google this.
Parents,
Hold on.
You got to hear this.
Say something.
Crawling is so good for hand-eye coordination because it's opposite hand, opposite leg when you're crawling on the ground. And so I need something to attribute it to because it just makes no sense because I'm just such an amazing athlete.
You're great at everything else except this one thing. So there has to be a reason.
Yeah. Which is kind of like one of those like backwards like flexes. Like, yeah, I walked when I was 6 months old.
6 months old, but I can't throw a thing.
And the thing is, I remember my mom telling me, she's like, yeah, it was like weird when you were walking because I was really short, I guess, as a baby.
Yeah.
Like she said, I looked like a bowling ball. So I was like 9.5 pounds when I was born, completely bald until I was 2, but I was really short. And I actually was really small even through high school. I didn't grow till I was like a junior or senior in high school. I think I was like 4'8" or 4'9" as a freshman in high school. I was so small.
I'm thinking of those baby pictures right now, and I'm hoping to find those so I can put those on the video.
I do. I actually have them in my phone, so I'll give you one. But I was like round and short and bald. And so when I started walking at 8 months old, she said it was really weird to see it. And like other people would be like, what, like, how old is she? Like, what is going on? You know, and back then, you and I have giggled about this. Remember how big diapers were?
Yeah.
Like, like, was that even a diaper? It looked like...
It was like a extra large blanket just wrapped 4 times.
A sleeping bag.
It was your parents' bedspread just like wrapped around your 18 bags.
Like, who thought of that? Yep, this is a good idea.
We'll catch it all. We'll get it all.
I don't know why all the 80s kids have bow legs, but like, are all bow-legged.
Yeah. So
Shout out to all the 80s kids who were in diapers in the 80s, and they were enormous because some of those pictures, some of these baby pictures, I actually have one. It's like, my legs are so far apart. How did I walk?
Yeah.
Oh, where were we going
Anyways,
with this? We were talking about contract work, and now we're talking about diapers.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
I don't know, but we were just kind of going over all the different things.
Yes,
that I have done.
Yeah,
over the
all
year.
the things that you've done.
It actually started with me asking about your goals and what your favorite machine was at the gym.
That's right. Okay.
And then we ended up on diapers.
See, it all comes together. Okay,
listeners, we know you love us. We know that's why you're here. We're very glad you're here.
Yeah,
let's get focused. There's people running right. You know, there's actually people in a race right now that are listening to this.
Yeah. Let's cheer them on.
I was at the Bentonville half marathon weekend. I met a couple of people that are like, "Hey, I've saved some podcast. This is what I'm listening to tomorrow."
Nice.
So I'm just going to give a big shout out to everyone that actually is racing, but also to those that are working through a long run right now. Coach Sally is just here to say that you are in one of the many miles that you have to do today. and that's all you can control. And that I want you just to stay in that. Like, that's it. Don't think about the miles that you just ran. Don't think about the miles that are ahead. Just run this mile as best you can. Take a little sip of your electrolytes, a little sip of water, a little bit of calories, but embrace the mile you're in, and just let Eddie and I just hang out with you right now.
I like
We're
that.
just going to.
Good advice.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, let's move on. Let's stay focused, Sally. All right, I'm going to read a review because, you know what? I love reading these reviews because a lot of them are very, very, they're very nice. So I like to read them.
Is this the one that you texted me?
No,
you
this is
text
different.
me a lot of
That
the
was
things that people
something
send
different.
to us.
We'll get to that, though.
Is that in here, though?
It is, yeah. All right, so this one is titled Gratitude and Love. This is from G-Meister. From the Apple Podcast world. It says, coming off a really hard season of my life when I came across Sally on a Nick Bear podcast episode, the gratitude I feel for having found the Choose Strong podcast is invaluable. I've been struggling and I've been battling with a lot of different demons in my closet, and Sally has pretty much reignited everything that I know to be important to me. I used to play women's college basketball, and I've always been a gym rat. Therefore, the hustle and the grind has always been a part of my lifestyle, especially when I started running to fill the athlete void after graduating. That being said, this hard season has had an unexpected grasp on me. The words that Sally has to offer are incredible and allow me to know that you can always choose strong. With so much love and gratitude, G. G-Meister, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, very nice review. And we appreciate those reviews, you guys. Thanks. Okay. Again, I like to highlight some of the Choose Strong listeners, and whether that is from the Instagram, whether it's from the Choose Strong Strava group, from the Facebook group, from an email, from text, whatever. We just like to highlight those that are doing some good stuff out there, that are pushing themselves, strong mind, strong body, strong love. So the first one I have today is from the Choose Strong Strava group. And this is Jenny Arnzen, and she has she says this: first 200 done. We had wind, we had rain, flash flooding, tornadoes, but it didn't stop us. Finished in just under 52 hours on my birthday. What a present. I had my first ever hallucinations, a giant UPS box in the middle of the trail. Eddie, tell Sally I found her canoes from the Badwater also. And she had a big picture of her in the group there of her medal. Pretty cool.
That's incredible.
Well done, Jenny.
Well done, Jenny. Congratulations.
Congrats.
Tornadoes is wild.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Can you imagine?
That is terrifying. Yeah, we don't get tornadoes here in Southern California. I mean, I guess the closest things we get are those water. What do they call those?
Yeah, tell me. What are
this water cyclones or whatever?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the closest thing.
Yeah, it could be water cyclones.
I don't know.
You're the weather person in our family, so if I don't know, you should know. All right. Well done, Jenny. Thanks for sharing that. All right, the next one, Facebook group, Joshua Blashill. 40 mile per hour winds, single digit wind chill, and snow rain made this 25K harder than normal. Many runners decided to choose strong and push their limits. I'm grateful for this group and all the encouraging stories that keep us motivated. And he has a picture of him at the start line. In the back, there says Texas Outlaw Running Company. And I don't know. Yes, it's at Buffalo Hills. Anyways, great picture. He's got the big smile with his medal on. And Joshua pushed through 25K. Joshua, well done, dude.
Congratulations, Joshua.
Yeah. 40 mile an hour winds. I hate the wind.
That's the one.
I hate 1 mile per hour winds.
That's the one weather.
Yeah, I hate it.
That is very difficult to run in.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I actually spent some time the other day thinking about how much I hate wind.
Did you?
I was on a
your
walk.
Morning walk?
Yeah, I was on a walk and I was like.
Was it windy?
It not really, but I just kept thinking for whatever reason about wind, and I was like, I hate the wind.
You were disgruntled about maybe a windy.
Yeah, and the only time that I was like, you know what, I like wind for 2 reasons. When I want to fly a kite, which is never happens, ever. But if I did, I would like wind. And then the other time I liked wind is it produces waves. You need the wind, in order to produce good waves at the beach.
Right.
But other than
For
that,
all your surf mornings?
no, I don't really surf, but I'm just saying, like, they look cool. Like
You
the
have a
waves
board, you have a wetsuit.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
need to get you out there.
I know. Yeah, I got to do that. But all the other, I have like a list of why I hate the wind.
Right.
But I'm just saying, 40 miles.
Did
no
you
joke.
write it down?
No, it's all up here.
It's just in the head.
Yeah, I've been stewing on it for a while, so I have a very good list. So, anyways, Joshua, 40 miles an hour is no joke, and you finished, man. Well done.
Well done.
He is in the Facebook group if you want to go and congratulate Joshua. All right, the last one is from the Choose Strong Strava group. In fact, this is a comment on one of my 3-mile runs. This is from Ashley Galler. And she says, funny story.
Wait, this is the one you texted me. This is funny.
This is funny. My 10-year-old daughter got in the car with me a little while ago, and I was listening to the podcast of Sally interviewing Eli. My daughter said, wait, who are you listening to? I told her, Sally's interviewing this guy, Eli. And my daughter said, oh, okay, that makes more sense. At first, I thought it was Eddie, and he was way too calm talking about doing a 300-mile race.
So good. I love it.
I love that, too.
Also, 300-mile race.
Yeah, not 3-mile race. Ashley, thank you for entertaining us with that. Tell your daughter we said hi. And yeah, she's smart because she knows Eddie would not be talking like that about a 300. Yeah, she knows me.
Yeah,
she knows me.
You.
She knows me well. And thank you for both of you listening.
Yeah, that was really sweet.
Us and sharing that.
Eddie texted it, and I was like, oh, we're definitely going to say that one in the podcast.
Yeah.
It gave me a giggle. The weather is warming up, and I'm running outside a lot more than I have been in the past few months. And with a lot of outside running and training comes a lot of sweat. That's why I've been using Lumi Whole Body Deodorant, which can actually handle anything, unlike some deodorants I've tried in the past. Lumi is clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. And all products are baking soda free and paraben free. It's perfect for before and after those long days in the mountains. Lumi's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, and then 2 free products of your choice and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get 15% off all Lumi products with our exclusive code. And if you combine the 15% off with the already discounted starter pack, that equals over 40% off their starter pack. So go ahead and use code SALLY, SALLY, for 15% off your first purchase at lumideodorant.com. That's code SALLY at LUMEDEODORANT.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you.
Spring is finally here, the sun is out, and the winter is behind us. And if you're like me, you're craving a little fresh energy and focus as the seasons change. Well, Mudwater provides that natural boost. Mudwater is not your average cup of joe. It's a cozy mix of cacao, chai, turmeric, and adaptogenic mushrooms to help you feel focused and balanced, not wired. And if you're a matcha lover, their matcha starter kit is a must-try. It's the perfect way to step into clean energy with matcha's calming, focused boost. My daughter got me hooked on the taste of matcha about a year ago, and I have to say their matcha is the best that I've ever tasted. Another great thing about Mudwater is every single ingredient in their products are 100% USDA certified organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, vegan, and kosher. There's also 0 sugar and no sweeteners added. And if you don't want the caffeine, there are caffeine-free blends available too. So, are you ready to make the switch to cleaner energy? Head to mudwater.com and grab your starter kit today. Right now, our listeners get an exclusive deal up to 43% off your entire order, plus free shipping, and a free rechargeable frother when you use code STRONG. That's right, up to 43% off with code STRONG at MUDWTR.com. After your purchase, they'll ask how you found them. Please show your support and let them know that we sent you. Keep your energy natural and refreshing all year long with Mudwater, because life's too short for anything less than clean, delicious energy. Okay, let's move on. Sally says, I have a great question for you today, because this question is probably up there with the top 5 questions that you get asked all the time. So this is actually from Katie from Southern Missouri. And she has plans of conquering some big races out west and wants to know if there's any way to train for altitude if I'm unable to spend much time training away from home. So this question comes in many forms. Katie obviously is staying at home, lives in Missouri, not a lot of elevation there, but has plans to run these big races at altitude. And there's a lot of people that write in and contact us about running Leadville, and they live in Florida, or they don't have a lot of opportunity to get to elevation and train. So what are the tips to Katie or to anybody actually in that position that wants to train for these big altitude races that can't get to altitude?
Yeah, the most direct suggestion I can give, just straight up, would be to see if there are altitude training rooms in your area. That actually is a thing now. They're rare, but
Explain that. What are those? I don't even know.
Well, Makenzie has one at Flagstaff where they can actually alter the altitude, because Flagstaff sits at 7,000 feet, and they have rooms with several treadmills in them where they can drop them lower so they can hammer out workouts on the treadmill so that they won't be at 7,000 feet. They drop them down, let's say, maybe to 3,000 feet. And so there are rooms that are basically pressurized in order to assimilate a different altitude. So like I said, it is rare, but I have heard of them being inside more of the boutique-y type upper scale gyms, might have cardio equipment in them. So you could look for that. There's also there's altitude pods where you don't train in them. You actually just go and you can spend an hour in them, and they can regulate all different and assimilate all different types of altitude. The third thing is altitude sleep tents, which I know sometimes tend to be a little more difficult if you sleep with your partner, and they don't want to be in an altitude tent.
They're like, wait a minute.
The altitude tent goes over your entire bed, but they now make them where they just go over the top half of your body on your side of the bed.
That makes more sense.
So all of those obviously are going to be a bit more pricey.
Sure.
There's definitely an investment that has to be made in order to become acclimatized. But I think that, one thing that I've always noticed throughout the years as a coach is there are some individuals, and I think it's just genetics, that just do well in altitude. They can go to altitude and they're generally fine. I'm not saying they automatically they're breathing so well, but they don't get those symptoms, lightheadedness, nausea, just feeling super tired. I guess Mackenzie's kind of like that. I've never seen her ever struggle in altitude, ever. I think even when she did her high school camps, she was always she beat most of all the boys on varsity. It was just because she was good at altitude. She could
Big
run
Bear,
pretty
which
well.
was 9,000, I think. Right?
Yeah. And so, I think figuring out how you do in altitude, it probably would be beneficial. I know Katie's saying that she's not able to spend very much time away from home, but I think if someone's investing into a race, let's say Leadville, for example, which, the average is 10,000. I mean, Leadville sits at 10,000.
Right.
I think the lowest you ever get is 9 something. But then you're climbing up to over 12,000 feet too. So you're on average, you're at 10,000 feet the entire 100 miles. And, some people wait for a long time to get into those races. They invest so much into that race. If there is an opportunity to go out there for a week at any time in your training, just to see how you do, mentally, it will prepare you.
Yeah.
And then you won't feel so taken aback. Because if you go out for a week and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so difficult. This is really hard for me to operate in, or you find that wow, the entire week I spent with nausea and a headache and but you can take all that intel back and work on it or get the things that you need. Is there stuff out there that you can take? I mean, obviously you can take some Tylenol for the headache. You can get ginger chews and spearmint chews for nausea. You can really work on your nutrition because, a part of it too, when you're in altitude, dehydration is real and it makes all those symptoms worse. So coming up with a good protocol for yourself to make sure that you're very well hydrated is so important when you're in altitude. So, yeah, all of those require an additional investment. Now, if none of those are options for you, I think the next best thing is sauna training. So, heat training has a lot of the same benefits as altitude training. And if you cannot get into a place of altitude, then sauna train. And, in this day's world and in most places in the United States, I feel like you can find a sauna at a local gym. And you can also use that local gym as a great place to climb. I think the Stair-mill is one of the best machines for trail runners who do not live in a mountainous place and are planning on going to a race that's in altitude or has a ton of climbing. The Stair-mill allows you to protect your body too, so you can continue to like push hard in your training because there's no downhill in a Stair-mill.
Yeah.
Uphill on the treadmill is just as good, but the Stair-mill forces you to lift your knee and really like work on those hip flexors. And there's just something that's a little bit different about it that you really start to feel a little bit more fatigued, and which is what you feel like in a race when you're climbing. Like your legs feel heavy, like your hip flexors start to tire out. And I think the Stair-mill does a good job of assimilating that. So I think it would be a good investment. A lot of these gyms now, you can get them for $10-$20 a month. You can get into the sauna, you can use a Stair-mill. Definitely worth that. But I think, at the end of the day, the sauna training is the best thing you can do. Training aside, it is good to see how you will respond when you hit altitude symptoms, because what I've noticed is that people who generally don't do well in altitude, and I've seen this at the elite professional level, particularly in track and road professional teams, will have altitude camps. And basically an altitude camp, you go to a new location in the United States. Typically we find those in Utah, Mammoth Lakes, California, Flagstaff, and not as much in Colorado as there used to be, but like some people will go to Boulder. Boulder sits at 5,000 feet, which I think is fantastic. But, some teams want to get up a little bit higher, 7,000 feet. So we see a lot of teams in Flagstaff and Mammoth and other places in Utah. But what you're doing is you're taking a full month and you're acclimating to that altitude. There's a lot of really good benefits that come from it. But I have seen that even there's pro athletes that have to leave that camp because they're just not doing well. They just don't do well in altitude, and they're not able to handle the workouts. Fitness starts declining, and then it starts to kind of like take a toll on your mental state, especially if you're competitive. If you're not rolling out good workouts, you're just constantly not feeling good. You're nauseous. You always have headaches. You're not sleeping well. It's just not a good environment to be. And I think that just goes back to genetics. Like some people are just really good at altitude and they don't have a lot of symptoms. So I think that's also why we see like Leadville doesn't really have a prerequisite to get into the lottery. Right. And only 50% of the people finish every year. Yep. And I think that's one of the big factors is not really understanding what extreme altitude. Extreme, Once you're going past like 8,000-9,000 and you're staying at it for a really long time, that's an extreme environment. Yep. So it isn't always like, oh, you weren't fit enough or you're not strong enough to go that far. It's like, yeah, all systems are not aligning. You're dizzy, you're throwing up, you can't keep nutrition down. That doesn't have to do with fitness. Like your body just is not happy at altitude. So I think it's good to give yourself the best chance that you possibly can. And then there's the altitude protocol for traveling in racing. And this is even for elite athletes who don't do good at altitude. So what you do is you get in to the race location. I want to say I think you try to hit it like 24 hours or less before the race starts. And then you leave as soon as the race is over. And typically you can kind of forego some of like the real altitude symptoms because some people won't really feel the symptoms of altitude until they're past the 24-hour mark. Some people feel especially terrible like on day 4, 5, or 6. So sometimes just going out a week before is actually not a good idea. It's a lot better to go out for like 10 to 12 days, but going out like 4 days before you can end up
Getting
standing
sick
at the start line
right when
and
it
feeling
starts.
the absolute worst.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would, that's what I really recommend is if you don't have any time at all to train altitude, you really don't know how well you're going to do, then try to, as best you can, arrive as close to the race start as possible, race, and then leave. And sometimes that helps. So.
Yeah. Cool. All right. That answers that.
Yeah.
So
That was a
Katie,
good topic.
yeah.
I there's, I know Leadville is a really popular one that's on a lot of
Yeah.
people's bucket list.
Mhm.
I think this is a surprising part of Western states that people don't talk about a lot is how like those first 35 miles you're in altitude
Mhm.
and you go up pretty high to start. I think it's one of the reasons why we see people kind of fall apart by the time they get to Michigan Bluff, which is pretty much the halfway point, a little bit past halfway, is the you've gone through so much extreme environment.
Yeah.
And now you're in this like dead thick heat. So from altitude, heat, technical trail, a lot of downhill. Those are all like factors that can really affect your race if you don't train for those things specifically. And I think specificity in training, it doesn't need to be that the entire time you're training. So it isn't like day one you need to be training on technical trail if you're training for a technical race. No, there's a programming that needs to happen within your schedule where you do focus on that for 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks. But your overall fitness, your overall strength, everything that you do like in that base building should really be to get your body strong, enduring, and able to handle the more intense stuff. So yeah, you can start training specifically for stuff, if you can get like a window of altitude training, window of heat training, window of technical downhill, that'll set you up nicely for race day.
Yeah. Cool. All right, take us back to March 28th, 2006.
Mm-hmm.
Makenzie McCrae was born. You became a mom for the first time.
Yeah.
Tell us about that day and how that changed our life.
Yeah, I mean that day was wild. I think we've told Makenzie's birth story in another episode, which if you're curious, you can check out. In a nutshell, it was an unexpected C-section. Found me in an ambulance, Eddie running red lights, following behind. And Makenzie was born very quickly after we entered the hospital. So I think that's like such a great place to start because in my mind, I had a birth plan. And I feel like I am someone when it comes to like a big event, something I really care about, I do plan.
Yeah.
I'm laughing sitting here because I have my yellow notebook here. I have several notebooks all around the house
they're all
and
over the
like,
place.
I'm always writing down notes. I'm always like, okay, what are these ideas? Like, what am I planning? I have a list like, and even when it comes to races, it's like I have like my bins and my bags and everything is just like, I have a plan. And I think when Makenzie was born, it was like within those 24 hours, I realized that for those 9 weeks, 9 months, 10 months that I was planning for Makenzie, I read the books and I wrote down my birth plan, and in my mind, I was doing my best to envision how it would be and what I dreamed it to be like. And within 24 hours, all of that was washed away. It wasn't the way I expected it to be.
No.
And instead of giving birth in the way that I hoped I would, I was now recovering from stomach surgery in a really traumatic way.
Yes.
And, and those first couple months were hard, that was never in my mind that I was going to be recovering from that. And it's, you have this huge scar and it's just, your body doesn't feel great. It's a lot harder to move around and recovery felt really slow. But I remember how tiny she was and just looking at her. And at that time I worked in an office and, we didn't really know up until probably the month before we had Makenzie. We were living in Washington, D.C. We had been there for a couple years. And you and I had decided, we're like, yeah, we should probably think about moving back. And once she was born, it was like, yeah, we need to move back to family. I mean, you want to be with family. And I didn't have any family over there. All of Eddie's family was in California too. And I'd say for the most part, since the time I was 19, Eddie's family has pretty much been my family.
Mm-hmm.
And now, brand new baby, I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, there's so many things that I want to do right and I want to be good at, and I feel so ill prepared. But I think it was so good to come home. And for me, I know one of the things that I love the most was just seeing you with her.
Mm.
And I think that gave me a lot of confidence in what was ahead, because I just realized that from that first moment that she had you wrapped around her little teeny tiny
Yeah,
pinky.
she did. Yep.
And you were completely enamored with her. I mean,
Yeah.
you could not wait to get home every single day. Like, it was just like, where is she? Give me her. Like, I
Yeah.
want to hold her. And like, you didn't want to put her down.
Yeah.
Of course, like when I needed to feed her, that was the only time that you would like give her to me.
Mm-hmm.
Cause I had been with her all day. But I think that just all those feelings, not knowing, I think that transition, and I've, we all of our friends, we've all, like, all of our Biola friends, there's like 8 couples in our group of friends. We're all really close friends still. But it's been really interesting just to see how all the dads have responded, because I think sometimes that first year is hard.
Yeah.
Because I breastfed both of our kids, and so it's like they refused to take a bottle or a pacifier or even a thumb. So it was like kind of wild. So it's just like that transition can be so hard, because you have this brand new baby and like the baby always wants mom or needs to be with mom, and us having to like even navigate that, like our relationship and just like where all of our time and attention was going. It was like, we need to keep this baby alive, know? And then it was all the feelings attached to that. And then you're looking at your life like in a new perspective of, wait, what are we doing moving forward? Like, what used to be really important to us is like taking a back seat. The dreams and like the things we were working toward, like we're only working toward some of those right now. And now I don't even know if I want to do that. And I think it was just maybe like a month before Makenzie was born. That's when I was like, okay, I'm not going to work this office job anymore. I was working for Show Hope, Stephen Curtis Chapman's nonprofit organization. And I was like, I just want to be at home with Makenzie. Like, I don't want to be away from her.
Yeah.
And you looked at our bank account and was like, well, that isn't really possible. We got to make something work. And I think, yeah, I'm going to pause there. I mean, I'd love to hear you those first weeks becoming parents. I mean, we were excited about it, but
yeah, I mean, yeah, it was super, super exciting, super fun. I think the reality for me hit when we were given the green light to leave the hospital and put her in that car seat and put her in the back seat. Like, that was a moment for me. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I am going to be the best driver. All the things, like
that's so
you're
true.
instantly in charge. Not that, I knew that I was going to be, but then it was like the reality of, she's been given to us and she can't do anything on her own, right? So we are the sole, like, we are the only ones that can keep her alive, can keep her safe, can give her food, protect her, like all these things. That instantly was like, that weight was like, oh wow, okay, this is a big deal. And she was like, so tiny,
little.
like,
yeah,
dainty little, like
5.5 pounds when we took her home. Well, 5 pounds 5 ounces when we took her home.
Yeah, so even just like holding her and like, I just felt like, man, I'm gonna do something wrong. Like, I just, so there was this like huge concern and like burden almost of like, okay, I'm in charge. Like, I gotta make sure she stays alive. And, that's not something that I was taking lightly. But yeah, so I think, man, just all of those emotions, coming home, taking her out, just like so excited, just, bringing her in the house. Right. And just, making sure everything was comfortable for her. And, I think those first few days too were pretty, it was just awesome. Right. Like, you have this life that you're he's so excited about, and you just get to hold, and just constantly kissing her face, and even though her face was like 1 inch big, just so all of those things, it was just such a special few days. And then like you said, when I went back to work, I was teaching at the time, so when I went back to work, couldn't wait to get back home, those afternoons, and just hold her, and just it was just such a special time. But I mean, obviously those first few weeks were so brand new, so emotionally like awesome, and then a month in or so, then like more of the reality starts to set in of like, okay, like like you said, what are we doing moving forward? Like, how are we going to make sure that she's taken care of, provided for, the vision, the future for us of like what we're doing with our lives, like, because we were young, and that all kind of shifts a little bit, and there's new perspectives, and so I mean, it was just such a special time for sure. I know for me, I just remember it was just so weird, right? You come home and you have it's not an animal, like it's not a new pet. It's not like it's a human being that like is brand new, and it's yours, and you get to have, to love, to comfort, to encourage, and such a neat time. It was just so exciting to come home, and I remember she was so little. I remember putting her in my hat and taking pictures, putting her next to my shoe, because I wanted to like remember like how little she was. Like, this can't be like she's so small. And just I remember just playing guitar, having her lay next to me and playing guitar. There's just so many.
Always played her guitar.
There's so many cool memories. But then I think a couple months into all of that was coming up to the summer, where as a teacher you sign another contract for another year, or you decide not to teach anymore. And that was when we were thinking, okay, I think it's time to head back to California. So we decided to put her in the car along with all of our stuff and drive across the country in
her little Hyundai Sonata.
Little Sonata. And
I think about, sometimes I have moments, because I just went to Arkansas last week.
Yeah.
And I remember we drove, when I was there last week, I was like, I haven't been here before. We drove through Arkansas. I think we paused at a Cracker Barrel.
Yes.
And then just continued on. I don't think that counts. It doesn't do justice to
let's not count
the
that.
state. But when I went to Arkansas this past week, I remember that. And then I started, you have these moments where you remember things that you did when you were younger, and you're like, I can't believe I did that. And that's one of them.
That was one of
us
those
driving
moments.
in our little Hyundai Sonata in the dead of summer with our 3-month-old baby girl in the back of our car, and just like, yep, we're driving back to California. And I think this is like a consistent theme in this story, is with every like month there was something new that we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know how it was going to work out. There was like a big transition, a big move, a new job, like, and all the while we're trying to learn how to be like a new parents. And it's just wild. Like, I look back and I'm like, man, we were kids. I mean, we were kids.
Yeah.
We were so young, and we had already done some pretty cool stuff, just even in, early on in our marriage. I mean, a year into our marriage, we're like, let's move to the other side of the country, and I think...
Yeah, well, we went to China for a month and a half. And
weeks after we got married.
Yeah, so we did do quite a bit.
We had, and just, we had been together for so long. So I think that was where a lot of the confidence came in. Like, I talked to... It's so amazing when I do these live events, when I have the opportunity to sit down and read some of these letters that come in, and messages and emails, there's a lot of new parents, and people have come to me and said, you've helped me as I become a new mom or a new dad, or, we're expecting soon. And there's a lot of apprehension and anxiousness and worry, and it's the unknown, right? Like, how is this all going to work out? And I think that what is the common thread always is that you never feel fully prepared.
Mm-mm.
And so it's like waiting because you want to be more financially stable, waiting because you want a better job, waiting because it's just, it's too busy in your life. I'm like, we were all of those things. We were lacking in all those things. We were feeling all of that. And then when she came, even more so, you feel like I am not ready or equipped or validated to be a parent. And I used to joke that is why children do not remember their first couple years of life. It's like the grace of God saying, like, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, but don't worry, they will not remember any of it. And I always giggle that parents who it's their first child, that's why the first birthday party is such a giant over-the-top celebration. It's like you celebrating that you went through it, because there's no child on the universe that remembers their first birthday party. But that's definitely a party for you. And like, I mean, Mackenzie's first birthday party, I think we had like a volleyball like net up. We had like, made like 20 little cakes. I think we had like 150 people at her first birthday
I don't know how many people, but I do remember standing at the barbecuing hot dogs for everybody, and I was like,
for like 4 hours
I kept
straight.
going. I'm like, oh my gosh, like how there's that many people. I just looked up. I'm like, oh wow, there's a ton of people here.
There is so many people. Like, I don't think either of our kids have ever had such a big party.
No.
Well, maybe Mackenzie's graduation party, but like,
but that was fun.
It is. I think that's always the encouragement I like to give, is just, that's why I love telling this story, because it's like everything that you can think of was just completely out of control when we became parents. And so Eddie and I both left our jobs. We moved back to California. Your mom, bless her heart, helped us find an apartment on Craigslist. We had never seen it. We had never been in it. All we knew that it was near the apartment that we had moved from.
Yeah.
And I remember arriving to this apartment. So we drive across the United States with a sweet little Kenzie girl in the back seat. And we get to Huntington Beach, California. And I'm pretty sure next door to our little apartment complex was like a halfway house, or like a rescue shelter maybe for women. Yeah. And it was an interesting neighborhood just as a whole. It was just a whole street of just all different types of little apartments and condos and some beat up houses and like, but we were used to that. And that's like kind of like how I grew up. But I just remember feeling so different because now I had a baby.
Yeah.
Like suddenly I was like thinking of all the things like, oh, we're up on the second story. Like there's stairs. Like, what if I fall down the stairs, like holding her? And then I remembered the washer and dryer was downstairs outside. And I would get like really anxious about like, okay, I have to like put her in the crib. I'm just going to go run downstairs real fast and like grab the clothes out of the dryer and like go up. It's like all the things that never bothered me before when we lived in that neighborhood. Yeah, I never thought of. Suddenly it was like every single detail was overwhelming to me. But we moved into that apartment, and then you needed a job, and your mom was working in the Bellflower Unified School District as a secretary at Mayfair High School. And she knew the principal of Bellflower High School, right? Am I telling this right?
Yeah, so he was her boss at Mayfair and moved over to the other school that's down the street, basically. And they had an opening for a special ed class. And
this is when California, there was like no jobs for teachers. Like it was really hard to get a job.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the way it was when I came back is I put in to like, get hired in all these districts to, something. And there was no general education openings.
Nothing.
So I was like, okay, well, I'm up for whatever. And then my mom said over at the other school across the way, there's a program, special ed program that's hiring. And so I went in there and I basically was like, I'm unqualified for this, but it was a job where nobody wanted to do this job.
Yeah.
And this lady who was the principal, wasn't the guy yet, but this lady who was the principal, she said, yeah, you don't have the right credential for this, but I'm willing, if you're willing to do the job, I'm willing to hire you based on, hey, if you will agree to go at night to get your credential. And I said, yes, I will do it because I need a job. So you tell me when I start. So that was in the summer. And then by the time like it was official, I got hired, then she moved on. She wasn't even the principal anymore. So, and then the guy that my mom knows actually became the principal. And so I kind of knew him a little bit through my mom, but he didn't hire me. But anyways, he was my boss after that. But so I became a special ed teacher for 7th through 9th grade emotionally disturbed students.
Severely.
And
wasn't that it?
No,
Severely
they were emotionally disturbed, and some were more than others. But they were definitely like they had to be considered in their IEP like an emotionally disturbed kid. So I had about probably 9 or 10 kids total that would stay with me all day. So I would do that job, and it was, a good amount of it was 30, 40 minutes drive away. So in the morning I get there really early. I had no idea how to teach this stuff because I was brand new to it. So I'd have to get there super early, decide what I'm going to do for the day, and with these 9, 10 kids. And think it was 3 or 4 nights of the week I would go to school.
Mm-hmm.
So school was from 4 to 9. It was like a 5-hour class. I think it was 3 times a week because I remember having Wednesdays off. So it was like Monday, Tuesday, and then like a Thursday. And that was a 3-year program. So I'm like, this is my life for the next 3 years. And it was like so difficult because I wanted to come home, obviously, and see you and see Makenzie. But I knew that as a dad that I needed to have a job, and this was what was available to me at the time, and I needed to suck it up. And hey, I'm working. I got a daughter, I got my wife at home, and I'm doing my best to provide for them. And so if that meant I needed to take some classes and be all in as a special ed teacher, like that's what I'm gonna do. So I was doing that, literally 4-hour classes 3 times a week. So I'd come home super late. Makenzie was already asleep. So yeah, there's days where I never even saw her, which was really hard, So yeah, that was a big transition.
It was a big transition, and I definitely saw that sacrifice because teachers, you get medical and dental care.
Mm-hmm.
So we were taken care of really well, but teaching salary is hard. And I remember at that time too, we still had like a little debt that we were paying. And Makenzie now was like 5 months old. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to be bringing something in.
Yeah.
I need to like help bring something in. But man, I just could not imagine leaving her. It was just, and that's a very personal thing to me. I think when you lose your mom as a kid, and my mom was such a great mom, like I really could not wait to become a mom. I think it's the greatest role, the greatest like gift of my life. I always think that there's just nothing compares to it.
Mm-mm.
And I think when, like, for me, I was like, I know what it's like not having my mom around as a kid. So I want to be there for my kids as much as I can.
Yeah.
And that's always been a really personal thing to me, is not working, in an office, full time. Like I just didn't want that. And I think that's something that, because like all around me, like all my girlfriends, we all work in different capacities. Like I have friends that do work in offices, and like friends that are like nurses and doctors, and, and they have like that regular schedule where they only get like 2 weeks off for vacation and they get the weekends off. And so I'd say that for the most part, especially here in Southern California, it's very common that both the mom and dad have to work out of home in order to make ends meet. And so I knew how like unrealistic that was. And I was like, oh man, like I'm gonna have to eventually either go back to teaching because I had taught, or I thought about, getting another type of office job. That's the only way that we're going to make this work. And we knew we weren't going to stay in that little tiny apartment forever. That wasn't something that we wanted. And so I don't know, there was just something inside that I was like, I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to try to make money from home.
Yeah.
And so I remember like looking up, like every MLM marketing like business that's out there. I probably tried it. And one of them that I landed on was for like cheap healthcare. And it's one of those things you get like people to sign up and you get a percentage, when they sign up, and then you get other people. And I tried that for a couple months. I remember flyering the neighborhoods all over. I'd run all over the place. Like whenever it is that you were home, I would just flyer everywhere. And then I would make cold calls, when Makenzie was napping. And oh my gosh, it was such a dead end. I think at the end of the day, I maybe made $50 out of like those 2 months. And I had some friends back in DC who had always encouraged me, like, man, you should really become a trainer. Because I was a soccer coach at that before we moved to Washington, DC. And I'd always loved coaching in some capacity. It's like, I really found a lot of joy in that. And as I said, all these like fitness boot camp things were popping up. I was like, man, I love to train and I love to coach. And like, that is like so my jam. And that's actually something I could like make my own schedule. And so I went to you, and you're not the biggest fan of credit cards. We had this debt we need to pay off. And so like getting a credit card, you were like, just like, no. But I remember just telling you, I promise I will work my heart out if you'll let me put the price of classes to get my trainer certification on a credit card. Like that was like our first gamble.
Yeah.
And I think at that time, Makenzie was probably only like 6 or 7 months. I think she was only like 6 months old. And so that was the start of the certification. So I got several certifications. I started working for another fitness boot camp, and it was so perfect because it started at 5 a.m. So like the class started at 5 a.m. And I remember getting up because it was like a half-hour drive to Anaheim Hills. And I would get up like at 4 a.m. I would nurse Makenzie because she didn't take a bottle. And I was like trying to time it right. I was like, okay, I'll nurse her. And then I have to drive and get to Anaheim Hills, like take that half-hour drive. I'll teach the class from 5 to 6. As soon as class is over, I would be running out to the parking lot. And because these things were just like so big, I came in just as a trainer under a company. And, sometimes you'd have like 80 women showing up to these things to do this hour-long like outdoor fitness boot camp.
Yeah.
And then it was fighting all of the Orange County traffic to try and get home. And I remember like, you're like, Sally, I have to leave.
Yeah.
Like right at 7 or 6.
No, it was like
6:40, like 6:45 or something. And there was like 1 or 2 times where I would see you like pulling out as I'm coming in and be like, where's Makenzie? She's like, she's in her crib. She's in her crib. It would be like 10 feet. I mean, he would not leave without her, but I was like, he knew that I was like pulling in. He's like, okay, then I'm going to pull out. But I just remember that feeling all the time of like, there's this 30-second exchange where Mackenzie's all by herself in their crib. And that was the worst feeling always. Like if I hit like a traffic jam or something. I mean, it only happened a couple times, but that's how we did that for a couple years where it was like I had to like time it. I was getting up at 4 a.m. That's really where 4 a.m. started for me, where I realized like, oh my gosh, I'm making money for helping out, making money. I'm able then to come home and stay home with the kids. At this time, it was just Makenzie. And just trying to like start to piece together this life that we dreamed of, this life that we really desired. And I think I was just so bent on not having to pick up a full-time job.
Yeah.
With a boss that, controlled my schedule and all of that. And it was a massive risk. We struggled a lot. I remember so many times we were in the red, and like how many times, I know this is relatable to a lot of listeners, but man, there were a lot of times where I would go to the grocery store. Do you remember this?
Mhm.
You'd have to bail me out sometimes with the
Mhm.
credit card, and I would go to check out, and there wasn't enough money in our checking account.
Mhm.
And we had one credit card at home, and we wouldn't take the credit card out. It's like the emergency credit card.
Mhm.
Because that's what it's supposed to be for, like some life emergencies, because we didn't have any money. We're like, okay, we'll save this credit card. And I remember you would have to drive from the apartment with Makenzie and like bring the credit card, and in front of everyone at the grocery store, the neighborhood grocery store, he would bail me out with like the credit card. And that happened on more than one occasion. And so those were like the risks that we were taking. Like we didn't have it completely figured out. Like we didn't always know what we were doing. We were definitely like month to month, like, okay, maybe this will work or maybe this will work. And I'd say once Makenzie was like, I don't know, once she turned 1, that's when I decided, oh, I'm going to try and start my own outdoor fitness business. And so I went and started my own outdoor fitness business. I think I started with like 9 or 10 of my own clients. And I remember that first week, the exuberance, the absolute joy, elation of like, oh my gosh, like I have my own business.
Mm.
And that was just the start. That was in 2007.
Yeah.
When we launched that. But we then, as soon as we started the fitness business, a month into that, found out I was pregnant with Isaiah. Do you remember this?
Yep.
And then you were offered a pastor job,
Mm-hmm.
and we moved.
Yep.
So like, this is like in that first year, there was so much change. We moved states, we moved jobs, we were struggling financially. We were trying to figure out some type of schedule where we could both be making money and both be home, supporting Makenzie and trying to pursue a life that we both loved. I think that was really important to us too. It's like, yeah, I had a college degree. I knew I could go and get like a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I could go do something, and like you and I could pay off that debt, pad the savings, save it for a house, and like live the American dream, right? Like owning a home and all the things. And I think that between the two of us, and I think this is so important for anyone listening, it's so important that you, especially when you have a family, that you do what works for your family, that you do what you love and what matches your desires and your personalities and like the dream that you have for your family. And it's not always going to look like everyone else's.
Right.
And it certainly didn't. Like what we were doing was nothing like any of what our friends were doing.
No, not at all.
Most of our friends already bought a house. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of our friends, like, they also had families that helped them out to buy a house, and you and I were like, we didn't come from those families.
Yeah, we obviously chose to move states. We chose we chose it, right? Like that was our, like you said, to come together, and we decided to do these things rather than, because we could have chosen to lock in these jobs that we had in California, let's save for a house before we have kids. Like we could have done all those, and that's a popular thing, like you said, the American dream. But we chose to not do that, and we chose to like kind of, looking back, it looked a little bit more like immature and
wild.
Yeah, just
we were wild.
not very responsible, I guess, even like, because we're just like, let's just go and we'll figure it out, right? And thankfully we've been able to figure it out, but that doesn't mean it was easy. And but it definitely has given us a lot of memories and fun stories that come out of it. And but yeah, I think that, like you said, that year was our choice to move jobs, and even the finances. It was rough because of our choices. We were trying to make it work on what we wanted, and I know for me, as you were trying to do the coaching thing and try to make money in the morning, and I was doing a job that I did not love, that I was, not only did I not love it, I mean, I love kids and I loved the interactions I had, but I didn't go to school for what I was doing. And that was kind of weird for me. And, so I'm teaching special ed, and it was extremely exhausting.
I
Like,
remember
it was
that.
very, very, very tiring emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
And these kids needed my attention literally every single
a lot
minute.
of them had sad stories. I mean, you would come home emotionally wrecked.
I was, yeah. It
sometimes.
was very, very hard, like emotionally, and then I would go and sit for 4 hours of class, a couple times a week, and not only that, this kind of ties into the finances, but to get the job, I had to, obviously, like I said, agree to go to school at night to work on my credential, which wasn't free. That was also something that I was paying, which I was paying for something I didn't want to necessarily do. So there
was a loan. I think we had to take a loan out for that, didn't we?
There was part of it was a loan, and the other part was just trying to like pay it. And yeah, so I think those transitions that first year there were so many, and a lot of them were very difficult, and just figuring it out and doing things you didn't want to do in order to provide for a kid, making sure that you're doing everything you can to make sure that your daughter is going to be okay, and you're being a big boy, being a big girl, as parents. But yeah, I think that first year was a wild ride, and thankfully Makenzie has no clue about any of that. And
well, I want to kind of touch on, like, I think that we were so willing to be not only uncomfortable, but also just okay that we didn't have anything, like that we didn't have a lot. And, I grew up not having a lot of material things. I didn't grow up ever like realizing that. I had everything I needed growing up.
Yeah.
I had, roof over my head. I had food. I had shoes and clothes. And and all my friends were similar to me. So I think for me, it's very easy for me to be comfortable with very little. That's how I grew up.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that.
Sure.
I think sometimes we can get to a place of not being content, and so much of it is based on what we're looking at around us. And social media wasn't that big when Makenzie was born. It was just kind of starting, and I think because of that, it was just a lot easier to kind of gauge on like what our just immediate friends were doing, who we loved. And I never felt like this, obviously, like when my friends got like new houses and they're buying their homes and they're same age as us, I was like, that's freaking amazing. And I did have moments where I was like, must be nice. But then I realized too that what you and I had together, it was really unique. I realized I was like, I don't have a lot of girlfriends whose husbands would be stoked about like this wild adventure that we were living. I mean, we literally uprooted ourselves from 2 good paying jobs and moved to Washington, D.C. to live with a family in their extra bedroom. Like we left everything. We left family, friends, and good jobs to see about this new adventure. And I don't think I would call that like irresponsible, but it was just like we were young. Like we were like 23, 24 years old. Like that was the time in the life to grab a hold of that. And now I look back and I'm like, that experience alone set us up to be so brave in so many other things that we have done throughout our marriage. But also we still have those relationships, very strong relationships that we made out there today. And what we did in uprooting ourselves and taking this big leap of faith, it has shown us, because we've always come back. Like we moved to Washington, D.C., we moved back. We moved to Bend, we moved back. And I think even though it's probably an unpopular opinion, for us, we just feel like there's not a lot in your life that's permanent outside of death, and so you get this one life to live, and the last thing that you and I have ever wanted to do is regret not trying something, regret not within means, right? Like I'm not talking about things that are like dangerous, but it's like, what are the great risks? Like what was like the greatest risk for us when we moved out to DC? Like we go out there and we don't like it. And I think that you and I both were like, well, we got jobs once, we can come back and get jobs again. Like we got an apartment once, we can come back and get an apartment again. And when we went back, like when we moved back from DC, it was like, there was so much change in our life when we moved back from DC. It's like, well, now we're a family of 3. We have this tiny little daughter. I'm not going back to teaching. There wasn't a legit teaching job waiting for you that you were used to. Is now like special needs, and now you had to go to school, and like I'm navigating being a mom, and I'm trying to figure out like how we're gonna make money, and we're in the red, and like, but I look back on that first year as parents with so much fondness. Because I also remember a lot of laughter in our little tiny apartment. I remember so much joy. I remember so many days down at the beach with the stroller with Makenzie. I look back on those pictures of our tiny little apartment. I'm going to start crying. And her sitting in her little toy box. And life was just so simple. You know, like I think at the core of like what is like good and what remains. And when we look back on our life, like when we've lived a long life, like when we're in our, 70s, 80s, 90s, when we look back, it's like, those are the things that shine the brightest it's just that time with the people that you love. And it's sprinkled in with like these intense moments that created a life. The intense moments for us were like, let's leave it all behind and move to DC. Like, all right, we're having a baby. Like, let's drive across the United States and move back to California. Like, okay, I'm going to go for it and put like all these certifications on a credit card. It might work, it might not. But I think over and over and over again, you and I always found a way.
Yeah.
And I think that for our listeners is something I really want to encourage you. You are built resilient. You are built to actually figure out a way.
Yeah.
And many times it isn't until you're just absolutely thrown into the deep end that you start to see what you're made of. And I know as a little kid, like not having a lot of material possessions or just not having a lot of resources, Isaiah and Makenzie point this out to me all the time. They're like, Mom, you are the queen of hacks. Like, I don't know anyone that can hack something so fast. And it's like, it is like one of my superpowers. Like, I can figure out how to do something in an alternative way so fast. Or if there is like a point of pressure or a breaking point, or if something isn't available, I will figure out a way to get it or to get it done or to find an alternative. I can do that so quickly.
Yeah.
And I always attribute it to these moments in my life from the time I was a little kid, or just that first year that you and I were married, where it was like, you're either going to figure it out or you're just going to sit there and like blame the world, be a victim, or complain. Like, you can't do any of those things. You're a parent now, figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I look back with so much fondness. I'm like, I learned so much about being a wife, about being a mom, about being a businesswoman, like how to build a business. Like, I did not do business right those first couple years. Like, I did not know what I was doing. Like, all the things, marketing, advertising, working with clients, communication, like building a brand. Like, that's not what I went to school for.
Yeah.
And so, but sometimes it's actually putting yourself in that experience that is like the best teacher. And so for anyone that's a brand new parent, or for someone that's about to be a parent, it is okay to feel like you were completely unprepared. It's okay to feel like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this. This isn't the season. Or it's okay to feel like you don't have enough money in the bank, enough resources, a good job, or you just don't even feel like mentally, emotionally, physically that you are going to know what to do when this baby comes or as this baby gets older. That is a part of the human journey for all of us. We are constantly students. We're constantly growing. We're constantly learning and figuring it out. And one of the most beautiful things is it's your own personal story. And Eddie, I look back on our story of becoming parents, and that's what I love about it. It's so personal to us.
Yep.
It is wild what happened in that first year, because you went from those 9 months, you were a special needs teacher. And then when summer hit, you were offered a job as a youth pastor and worship pastor. It was kind of like a double full-time job at the church.
Yeah.
And then we moved.
Yep.
We had a family, like in-laws, that offered us a house in Irvine. So it was like from the time we moved from Washington, D.C., when Makenzie was 3 months old, to the time we moved to Huntington, Irvine, like we lived in 3 different places within a year and a half.
Yep.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And like, we've done that other times in our life too.
Yeah.
And so going through extreme moments and sometimes seeing those things repeated, we're like, we've done this before.
Yeah.
We're going to be fine. Well, other people that watch are like, that is my nightmare. I could never do that, or I don't know what I would do if I was in that situation. And my response always is, you'll if you ever find yourself in that situation, I promise you will be fine. Because just like us, there's moments where we didn't want to be in that situation, or we didn't expect to be in that situation, or we had no idea what to do. You figure it out, and you're going to be okay.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good word for sure. And we thought it was so smart to, hey, we love that year so much. Let's do it again with another child.
In less than 2 years.
So here we have Isaiah coming right on the heels of that first year with Makenzie. But it all works out.
It works out because we were given literally the happiest baby on the planet.
True, yes.
If you have ever met Isaiah in person.
Yes, you're right.
He is like the most resilient, joyful. There's never a dull moment in our home.
No,
like ever.
Right. Yep.
And he's most active at night. And so I always love it because you and I are like winding down, and he'll come home from practice. He usually goes to practice. They don't get done till like 8. And then all the boys go out to dinner. We're having more and more nights of dinner alone.
Yeah.
And then he somehow finally makes his way back home. And so I'm like winding down, like 8:30, 9, I'm getting ready for bed. And Isaiah comes in just like this tornado joy bug, and has like 14 stories for us.
Oh, yeah.
And he's so animated. He acts
he
out all of them. He uses his whole body, and like we just like cry sometimes because he's an old soul. And so his humor is like just it's so good, whether he's talking about something funny that happened with a teacher, or something at practice, or some observation that he's had, or even a new idea.
Oh yeah,
a new idea.
Just like his mama.
But yeah.
Yep.
Baby number 2.
Baby number 2.
That's for another
That'll
podcast.
Be a different episode
of what it was like juggling 2 babies in under 2 years. And as you moved into working about 70 hours a week.
Yeah, as I got a second job, even though it was my only job.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was wild. That's a whole nother phase. I mean, there was the first year, and then there was the second phase, and it was like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this?
Yep.
All over again.
It worked out. We're sitting here now talking about it. So
we've lived to tell about it, guys.
We've lived to tell about it. That is the moral of the story.
Yeah. Eddie, was it all worth it?
It was all worth it. Yes, it was.
Would you change anything?
I would not. I would not change a thing.
Do you mean that?
I 100% mean that, because it's all meant to be, right? It's all the things that you learn through those processes of messing up, not getting it right, not planning it out. Like that's how you got to where you are. So I would not change it. Yeah.
I'm right there with you.
In the moment, if you asked me that, I would have said, yeah, I'm changing this. Let's change this up. But now, 19 years later, I'm not changing it. No.
We have a lot of new parents that are like, please tell us there's hope on the other side of these 3 a.m. wake up calls, and
there's hope.
3 a.m. feedings and changing diapers. And for all my mamas that go for a couple days without being able to wash their hair and or get a workout in, I feel you, and I empathize with you, and I'm cheering for you. It is but a blink.
Yep, it is.
And
it really is.
Eddie and I are sitting here across from each other, realizing like our kids are 17 and 19, and we could talk about their first years as if they happened a few years ago.
Yeah, you're right.
And there were some great stories in there.
Great stories. Time flies, and it all comes together in the end, right?
It does.
Yep.
I want to give a big shout out to our college listeners. I know that's a growing audience for us, and for those of you that haven't started a family yet, or maybe that isn't something that's on your mind at all. This story really is for you too, because I think it's easy when we're in high school and we're in college, or just our young 20s. One, to feel overwhelmed by the world, and to feel overwhelmed even in the comparison. I bring up social media a lot because it's real.
Yeah.
I think one of the best things that we can do is just turn it off, put a timer on all of those accounts. But just remember, your best life is lived in real life. Not staring at a screen. And you're never going to know what you're capable of. You're never going to take those chances unless you do it for yourself. You have to turn the phone off and experience it for yourself. Don't experience it just through someone's YouTube channel. Don't experience it through someone's quick 20-second reel or TikTok. You have to go and live a life that's real. Have real face-to-face conversations. Put yourself in positions that maybe you're not good at. I'd say that almost every single job that I was hired for, and I started like getting hired for jobs, like legit jobs when I was 15. I started making my own money when I was 7, started working consistently by the time I was 12. I was like babysitting like four times a week. And then by the time I was 15, I was working 2 jobs. And I'll tell you what, I never, ever felt 100% qualified. There was always something for me to learn. There was always lots of questions. There was times I made a lot of mistakes, but I have used all of those to build the life that I'm living today. And I know it's the same thing for Eddie. I mean, when you became a worship pastor and a youth pastor, you went to school to be an elementary school teacher.
Yeah.
You had a minor in biblical studies, but to know that is then what you went on to do for almost a decade, is just amazing. And that was genuinely what you were meant to do at that season in your life. And I think that is what is so exciting. Don't be so fooled that you need to be a pro or an expert before you embark on something. Learn along the way. Have real life experiences, and know that for all of time, since the beginning of time, the best way to learn anything is to put yourself in that position. You have to be brave. You have to be courageous. You have to be strong, and all those things are within you. You just have to choose them. So.
Yep. Yeah, it's an encouraging episode for those with kids, those without, those with wanting kids, those with, that are transitioning, whatever, right? Like that's a good word.
Well, I'm proud of you, Ed, the dad you are, the husband you are,
Thank
and
you,
all
Sal.
the hard work you've done over the years. Sacrificing not only for the family and doing things that you genuinely did not like in order to make sure that me and the kids were okay.
Well, likewise.
You're my favorite partner ever.
Well,
forever and ever and always.
Well, okay.
Favorite partner, favorite friend, favorite
Just your
everything.
favorite. I'm just your favorite.
We're pretty lucky.
You're my favorite too, Sal.
We're pretty lucky to have each other.
We are.
I look back and I'm like, man, we've laughed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We've made some really bad mistakes, and it's so great that like we've been able to laugh through a lot of that.
Yep.
So yeah, it's been fun. So let's have more babies.
No,
let's have more babies.
That's not happening.
I want another baby.
Nope. Not happening, Sal.
Hey, adoption's not off the table. You heard it here.
We've talked about this.
You heard it here. One day we're just going to show up to the podcast and then people are going to hear like kids running around. We adopted a bunch of grade schoolers.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I'd love a baby. All right.
All
so
right, let's take us
wrap it up.
Take us out of here, Sal.
To everyone that's still running right now, we are cheering for you. For those of you that are racing, lock it in, take care of that body, stay in the mile that you're in. For those of you that are just sitting watching us on YouTube, if you're still on that machine working through that long workout, I want to say thank you so much. Know that Eddie and I, we are always cheering for you. We are here for you. We love this community. We love hearing from you. We are so glad that you are here. And we're just going to sign off by saying, keep choosing strong in all you do.